right. Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, so it's Wednesday. Oh my God. Thank you. I'm special. Okay, it's Wednesday. I do know what day it is, but at this point, do we really know what day it is? We've been in quarantine for so long, but it's Wednesday. It's Ladies and Lunch, and I'm so happy today. We have a special guest presenter. Her name is Kim Ali. She is a registered nurse, and she is the founder and CEO of A Cup of Tea. She's a registered nurse with international experience in education, mental health, and behavior change coaching. And today she's going to be talking about mental health coping strategies. I can't talk now. Mental health coping strategies during a global pandemic. So I'm going to turn it over to her so that she can give you a better understanding of who she is, what she does, and why she is an expert in this today. So thank you for joining us. And if you want to share your screen, we're going to talk after her presentation. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Sha, for the lovely introduction. Hello, lovely ladies out there. Welcome. My name is Kim Ali, and I'm the CEO and founder of Cup of Tea. So I offer online mental health coaching and behavior change coaching. So before I begin the presentation, I just want to go around and open up the meeting and just tell me one positive thing that has happened to you in the past week. And the reason why I want to do this is because right now with so much uncertainty and negativity going on in the world, I think it's crucial that we do focus on the good things. So for example, I'll go first. So something positive that happened to me last week, I was recognized by a local small business in the area for giving back to the community. And right now I am offering free mental health coaching for all healthcare professionals. So that's my highlight of the past week. So Sha, would you like to go first?
Well, congratulations. That is wonderful. And I'm so glad that you are giving back to the community. I don't even know what day it is anymore. What's the highlight? Like, I woke up.
It could be anything.
A highlight or something great that has happened is, my son, he just turned 8 months. He got 2 teeth, and so we've been waiting for those teeth. And that was a highlight because I never thought I could see them for the longest underneath the skin, but they hadn't broken, and so now they've broken. However, I'm not sure if I highlight more because now he wants to fight everybody. So.
Is he in pain because they're coming through?
No. So I did some old wise tale type thing. Someone told me about, which was you take a sock that they've already worn and you put a fresh egg from the refrigerator into the it sounds crazy, but an egg from the refrigerator that hasn't been cooked, and you put it in the sock, and then you put it above where they sleep. And so like right above their bed or over a door in their room. And then what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to collect the carbon dioxide, because the egg can support, I don't quote me on this, but I think 40 times its weight, and absorb that carbon dioxide, which helps to relieve the pain that they would normally
And did
have.
you notice that it's working?
Yeah, so he's not crying or anything. And then they pop up, they're supposed to pop up faster because they weren't popping up. So I did this maybe a week and a half ago and they started coming through. So we're going to say it was.
That's a highlight because I know when babies are teething, I mean, they're always crying and in pain. So if you can avoid that, that's great. All right, well, thank you for sharing.
That's my highlight.
Okay. Well, thank you. So next we have Lena. Lena, are you there?
Hello there. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
My highlight is actually what with the COVID-19 is the fact that I love being and doing online stuff. So it's been actually quite great for me in terms of being able to sort of connect with people around the world, which is brilliant. I'm, as you can probably tell from my accent, from London, but I've traveled extensively around the US, Caribbean, Europe, etc. So yeah, it's really great to sort of connect with people around the world and just check out what they're doing, what's happening, and do business basically. So that's definitely a highlight for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Okay. So moving on, I would like to share my story with you because I believe it's important to understand the reason why I started this business, okay? So I am a former expat. I lived in a country called Qatar. It's in the Middle East for the past 5 years. And prior to moving to Qatar, the thought of mental health or therapists, I mean, I thought it was for, you know, crazy people. I was very ignorant to the fact of how important your mental health is, okay? But living in the Middle East where you have different government, different rules, different cultures, it really tests your mental strength, okay? And a lot of people don't understand that because they see the Instagram pictures of all the vacations, the fabulous hotels, the lavish events, but there's a lot behind that story. So for the past, I would say 1.5 years while I was over there, things really just weren't working out. The current job that I had at the time, I decided to leave because I applied for a position twice. I was overlooked for that promotion. I was experiencing bullying. So I said, hey, you know what? I've had enough. Let me try something different. So I was hired by another company and I had really high hopes and aspirations for this company. And this is actually a Fortune 500 company. Their headquarters are based here, but they have offices globally. Okay, so very, very excited about this new opportunity. However, prior to starting this position, some of my friends who worked there gave me the heads up on this one woman. And you know, I don't like to judge people. I said, hey, okay, thank you for telling me about her behavior. You know, I want to give everyone a fair chance. Lo and behold, this woman ended up being my preceptor. So a month into my position, I started to identify the behaviors that everyone was talking about. So I had a one-to-one conversation with her. It didn't go well. Finally, I escalated it to my line manager. Well, it backfired because the two of them were friends and they started to retaliate. And it got to the point where I went on a business trip. I didn't have a corporate credit card at the time. So my preceptor let me use her card. So she filled out the credit card authorization form, checked off all expenses are covered. Well, I come back from my trip. The two of them accused me of using the card and charging meals and incidentals that weren't approved. They went all the way up to the vice president of the company and I was terminated immediately. So I'm not sure if you are aware, but when you're overseas and you're terminated as opposed to being laid off, you have to leave right away. There's no severance package. Any debt that you have has to be paid off. If you have debt, they actually put a travel ban on you. So you cannot leave the country until all of your debt is cleared. Okay, so just imagine the life that I knew for 5 years was taken away within 2 weeks. So that was very traumatizing for me. So I came back to the States in September and no one knew what happened. I didn't tell my friends, I didn't tell my family. So I came to my brother's house visiting and then I ended up staying for 4 months. God bless them for letting me stay because they could have easily said, hey, it's time to go. But during that process, 2 weeks in to coming back to the States, you know, I'm trying to figure out what happened, how did I get here? You know, I need to work. Last week, we had a guest and when she was let go from her job, she had the luxury of taking 6 months off and doing a yoga retreat. That's lovely, but I didn't have that option. You know, I exhausted all of my expenses trying to move back to the States. I needed income. Like, I had bills to pay. I wanted to start a business. Like, I need to work. So I didn't have that option. Okay, so just trying to figure all of this out. 2 weeks after I came back, my niece passed away. And mind you, this is the daughter of the brother who I'm staying with, okay?
Wow.
So, yeah. So trying to support multiple people when your cup is empty, it was the hardest thing I had to do. And at this point, I really needed to do some soul searching because this is my environment. This is where I'm at. I cannot change my situation. However, I can change my mindset. And I'll be honest, I did. I looked into a couple of therapists. Either they were too busy, you had to wait 2 weeks to get an appointment. I was unemployed at the time, so I couldn't afford the $200 a session service. Or just some didn't get back to me at all. So I really started to do soul searching and thought, okay, Kim, in order for you to survive what is going on, you need to change your mindset. And once I started implementing a couple of practices and techniques, things started to turn around within a matter of a couple of weeks. Now I have a job that I love. I was able to start my business. And, you know, I never thought I would be here back in September or October because I was not in a good place. And I feel like my passion and my purpose in life is to help other people. You know, if you can't change your environment, you can change your mindset so that way positive things start happening in your life. Okay, and that's my story. So enough about me. Let's get into the presentation, all right? So I'll share my screen. You're welcome. All right, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to cope during the COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, Sha, I just want to say something really quick. When I booked to do this on the 22nd, I was saying to myself, oh my God, that's so far away. Like, this will be over. We'll all be back to normal. But no, it looks like this is going to change our lives forever. All right?
Yes. It would be like, oh, a week.
Right, exactly.
Yes, no.
Exactly. Not 6 weeks. But anyway.
Right, we're like way into it.
I know. So yeah, so let's see. So the first strategy, all right, well, first of all, this COVID-19, not only does it bring health concerns, but also social isolation. If you live alone, it can be very lonely, okay? A lot of people have been laid off, so you may be suffering from financial constraints. Maybe you actually are sick. I have several friends who actually contracted the virus and they were out of work for 2 weeks. Or you may fear that you're asymptomatic and you may infect a family member. Or my favorite, if you're working remote, you have small children at home and they may need homeschooling, or you may be trying to figure out, well, how can I distract them while I work my 9 to 5? So there's a whole lot of challenges going on right now. But one of the ways we can deal with what's going on is strategy number 1, which is prayer and meditation. So what works well for me is belly breathing. Does anyone know what belly breathing is?
No.
No? Okay, great. So I can show you really quickly. So the way it works is if you're feeling anxious or stressed out, put your hand on your stomach. When you inhale, your belly should expand. So you want to inhale for 4 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, you should feel your stomach expanding. And then when you exhale, your stomach should shrink. So you want to inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds. If you do that at least 5 times, automatically you start to feel a sense of calmness and less stress and anxiety. So that's my favorite form of meditation. Strategy number 2 laughter and movements, okay? So I'm sure you've noticed after you watch a good comedy or after you talk to maybe a friend or family member that makes you laugh, you automatically feel a lot better. So I've been binge watching Netflix. Has anyone been watching Tiger King?
No, tell us about it.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can get
okay,
into
okay.
it.
The show is a train wreck, but I mean, it's hilarious, you know. It's about a guy in Florida and he is an animal trainer, but I mean, there's so much chaos and dysfunction going on in the show, but you can't help but to laugh. So that's been a big distraction and remedy for me. Next is exercising. There's tons of research that shows that when you exercise, it releases endorphins and automatically reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. So what I normally tell people to do is one, it is safe to go outside just as long as you're practicing social distancing. So you can either do a walk or jog around your neighborhood, or if you're not quite comfortable going outside, YouTube has tons of free videos that you can watch and you can exercise right in the comfort of your living room. Okay. Next is strategy number 3. All right, technology. Take advantage of all these opportunities we have. Can you imagine back in 1918 during the Spanish flu? Okay, there was no Netflix, there was no Zoom or Facebook Live, okay? So either people read or they just sat in the house and stared at each other, okay? But we have so many distractions. I do have a resource page full of resources that pretty much summarizes all the advantages or all the resources that are available that you can do from the comfort of your home, okay? Last but not least, strategy number 4, talk to someone, okay? This is a global pandemic. We are all feeling the same way around the world. There's no reason why you should feel lonely or isolated. If you have a supportive, mind you, supportive family or friend, because sometimes you feel worse after talking to some people, call them, you know, let them know how you're feeling. Maybe they can give you some words of encouragement. Or you can call me, you know, I'm always available as a listening ear if you want to vent or address your concerns. All right, so on the next slide, this is a great resource that I wanted to share with everyone. So the first section is generating extra streams of income. If you've been laid off, you might want to consider teaching online. So if you go to bridge.edu, what it is different companies that hire, and it varies from vast educational levels. You can have a PhD all the way down to a bachelor's, okay? So this is a good resource if you're considering teaching online. Next one is Instacart, okay? Instacart, it serves 2 purposes. And I've even told some domestic violence victims or people that are in a toxic household, hey, if you want to get away, sign up and deliver groceries. So the way it works, you sign up, takes about 2 weeks to do the background check, and you get orders in on your app. And then you can go to the grocery store, do grocery shopping, and deliver groceries to clients who order online. Next is Transcribe Me. So this is a service where you either transcribe audio or written documents, and the pay is pretty decent. Next, we have Fiverr and Upwork, okay? With all the extra time that we have, you can make additional income. So if there's a skill or you're knowledgeable about something, you can actually go on these websites and market yourself. I've already used it 3 times since we've been in the pandemic, okay? So this is a great distraction. Yes?
I have one question coming from Facebook.
Okay.
It's from Esther. The question is, what are recommendations for expressing yourself without a that may be feeling, I don't. Oh, what are some recommendations for expressing yourself without attacking or challenging how someone else may be feeling?
Without attacking or someone else. question maybe to understand the audience that you're communicating with. Is it maybe a volatile situation and she just wants to know how to communicate her feelings without upsetting the person? Is that the question?
Let's see where you're. I guess if there's a confrontation where someone has a different view, like how can you express how you feel and what your expectations are without making the situation worse? I'm assuming that that's what
Okay, okay,
that means.
okay. All right, that's definitely a great question. If it,
Oh, she said families.
oh, families. Is she living in the household with her family right now?
Yes, I'm assuming.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, that can be tricky because ordinarily we have an escape route pre-pandemic, but now you're trapped. Um, I would say setting boundaries, I don't know the situation in detail, but set boundaries. When you're stuck in the home with someone, it's important to have your own space, okay? Um, communicate, maybe communicate what you want, but why you want it. A lot of times if people understand the emotions or the feelings behind your request, they're more prone to work with you.
And are likely feeling frustrated under the pressure of quarantine.
Okay, okay, so they're not in the household
Not,
together.
I guess they're not right.
Ah, okay, okay. Okay. Do they communicate via Zoom or Facebook Live? How is the communication right now?
Uh, she hasn't responded yet.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
mm,
Okay. All right. Well, when she responds, let me know. I can certainly
I
provide
will.
feedback. Yeah. But yeah, so I believe I left off with Fiverr and Upwork. Yeah, take advantage. If you have something knowledgeable that people want or a skill that people want, sell it. And last is Live Blackjack. So this is an online gaming app where they actually pay you money to play blackjack, okay? So on now, if you have the skills, so Fiverr, Upwork is if you want to share your knowledge. Skillshare is if you want to learn a new skill or you want to learn something new. Okay, this is a great website. You go on, you look for the skill that you have an interest in, and there are courses that can teach you. Udemy is looking to take. Most likely Udemy has it. Last but not least, Harvard University is offering a ton of free online courses. All right, so everyone knows having a certificate or a course from Harvard University on your resume really looks good to employers. All right. So ladies, that is the end of the presentation. First of all, does anyone have any questions regarding the presentation?
Which one would you recommend the most in terms of what do you do in terms of your mental health and enabling people to feel empowered during this time?
Okay. Me personally, what has been working for me is communicating. There's a few core people in my life, and when I'm feeling down or I need to voice my concerns, I talk to them. Exercising has been instrumental. I know several times I felt like I was on the nerve of just, screaming at the top of my lungs. I went outside, went for a walk or for a run, and I felt so much better. Distractions are great. Again, if there's something that you've been meaning to do in terms of maybe starting a business, maybe you're thinking about going back to school, finding a skill or a hobby is a great distraction. Limiting social media, definitely. Cut down on the news. it's good to be informed, but not to the point where you feel, like you're panicking or anxious every time you watch the news. Instagram and Facebook, again, it's great to have knowledge, but I find that sometimes it could be a little bit overwhelming. So again, maybe just have a social media detox. Make a commitment for, if you can't go the whole day, make a commitment, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours to cut down on your social media consumption.
Does it sound bad that I'm not on Facebook?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And your company, one more question, your company, Cup of Tea, because I'd love to have a sort of a one-to-one Zoom call or whatever sometimes. So your Cup of Tea, your business, what led you to establish Cup of Tea? And I think you mentioned it in your opening, but why Cup of Tea? Because we like a cup of tea in London, UK.
So that's exactly why I named it Cup of Tea. So when I lived in Qatar, I had a lot of friends from the UK. And I remember there was this one nurse that I used to work with. And whenever someone had a problem and they needed to talk, she would always say, "Oh, okay, let me get you a cup of tea." So that's how I came up with the business name, because a cup of tea makes everything better.
Brilliant. That's my last question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So just to wrap up the presentation, so I've babbled enough about general mental health coping strategies, but however, each of us are unique individuals and we have different living situations. So if we could just go around, and everyone, can you please share what has been helpful for you during this time?
Yeah, I'll start. So for me, just trying to put everything in order, because, and I've told this story for the last couple of weeks, is that I had a baby 8 months ago. And so, not traumatic, because it wasn't traumatic, but it was life-changing. And because I'm an older mom, I'm over 40, and just trying to adjust to that, and then getting my life back in order. And I had just got to the point where I was like, okay, I know how to move this forward. And then all of this happened. So then it kind of was like a jolt, and I had to sit back and I was like, what do I really want to do? And so that's why I started doing these lunches, because in my normal phase of living, I'm always the event planner, or I will third, so for networking purposes. And so I wanted to do this so that women had a voice, and then like yourself, who have online business that needed to change or shift gears. And so for me, I don't even know the question.
Oh, no, you're there. Yeah, that's been helping you deal with the pandemic.
At first I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? I had already put together some things that I was going to start doing. Person situation anymore, so I had to shift to online. And I have a large community of expats, and I was like, okay, but am I talking to expats, or who am I talking to now? And so I was like, regardless of who you're talking to, you know that they're women, and that's your thing, is to connect and cultivate relationships with women. Mm-hmm. And so when I started this, that gave me a new sense of purpose, path of what I needed to do next. And so that gave me a hope, where I was like, what are we about to do? We're gonna bite our fingernails? Right. How are we gonna do this? So I think that gave me some sense.
Right. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's funny, because I think, people who are driven and motivated like us, this is the perfect time to, I guess, rebrand or reinvent yourself. And I'm talking to myself when I say this, but we have to be mindful that there are some people who are struggling. I mean, just to get out of bed these days is a task. And so when I'm talking to people, I have to, I guess, assess my audience and who I'm talking to, because I don't want to say, well, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm having all these opportunities to change. Meanwhile, it might make someone feel, inferior or, bad about themselves. So I try to be mindful of that when I'm talking to people as well.
Lena,
Okay.
Esther, you have anything you want to share?
Ms. Kim, that's an interesting perspective to, over the years, it's, and particularly in social media, you hear all of the rah-rah, cheer going on, and how people are being successful and what they're accomplishing in their business and so on and so forth. And, oh, you too can, make six figures and da-da-da-da-da. And one question is, yes, we're in a global pandemic, and we've never seen anything like this before. Global. This has shut down industries and global economies. Everyone is feeling it in some kind of way, whether they're aware of it or not. So one question is, I get being sensitive to that and understanding to that, and yet we talk about how, live your best life, live it to the fullest. Right. Don't play small. So there's, all of this kind of conversation, very conflicting, on opposite ends of the spectrum kinds of conversations. And that in and of itself can be confusing to someone who may be in a good place, even in the pandemic. I was on a conversation with a woman who, she said, I remember her first words, she wrote a post on social, she said, I think I can finally say this. She said, COVID-19 is the best thing that ever happened to me. And she went into why that was. She also said, and I understand that as a white woman, I'm privileged. I have privilege, right? And also people have been suffering long before COVID-19, right? She just went into why this was the best time for her, what that meant for her. And she got lots of positive feedback on that thread. And then she got a couple of, oh, you're being insensitive, although she had acknowledged, right? I understand people are suffering. People are losing their lives. Right. And we've had suffering since the beginning of time. And so the question is, how does one get to express him or herself and not feel compromised in doing that?
That's a very good question, Esther. One thing people just have to be mindful of, this is your life, you can't compare what's going on in your life to other people. Maybe now during the pandemic, some people are struggling, but after the pandemic is over, they will start to thrive again. And being confident in your story and what you're going through in life and sharing it. I think that's the key, just sharing what you're going through. A lot of people don't want to share, hey, I'm struggling, or, I lost my job during the pandemic, or I'm sick, I have COVID right now. But you never know who you're inspiring when you become real and share your story. And if the person that you're talking to can't understand that, then, that's not someone that you want to be in your inner circle.
Yeah, it was a very interesting conversation that, so many perspectives on that. And it's not that, I think what we have to be careful of is perspective. Right. Oh, well, you're being insensitive. No, that wasn't my intention. And I don't believe that my communication of my intention express that I was being insensitive.
Right.
So it caused someone to really have to look at themselves and say, well, what was
Right.
offensive? For
Why
me?
was that a trigger for me?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's where the healing
Right.
can happen, because we can all see and understand that people are suffering. People are in deep trauma right now. And for myself, there may not be very much, if anything at all, I, as just a single person, can do about that.
Exactly.
You know? And so we have to be careful not to bully the collective into this sort of submission around bullying people into compassion. Compassion should easily flow from us.
It should be organic.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then that causes us into doing our own work if we're aware of it.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's where, mental health and behavior change comes in. I mean, when you identify, once you acknowledge that there's a problem, right, you have to act on it. And a lot of people don't have the courage or the energy, especially right now, to address what's going on in their life. So it's easy to turn a blind eye, but if you turn a blind eye, there will always be triggers, or whatever someone says will always bother you, because that's not happening in my life right now. And if you don't have it, how can I work on it? How can I change it?
And from someone like yourself, a medical professional specializing in mental health and trauma, what I, as a layperson, would like is a better understanding of what mental health challenges and trauma looks like. I am a life coach.
Okay.
But we work from the present to the future.
Okay.
We don't go back into the past to figure out why you are where you are. So just even if I weren't a life coach, as just a human being, knowing for myself when I'm stressed, when I'm struggling with mental health, knowing for myself what my triggers are, what my trauma is important to me. But needing that information from other professionals like yourself, including yourself, so that I have some baseline of understanding that if my neighbor, if my sister, or my mother, or my husband, or myself, or a colleague is experiencing what might appear to be trauma or a mental health challenge or deep stress, that I can be compassionate enough in my understanding of what that looks like to be of support. Am I making sense?
I guess, are you saying that you want to understand where the history and, where the behaviors come
enough, not to be dangerous, but enough to be of support. I have information available to me consistently that I can say to myself, let me check in and see if this is real for me based on the information I've received from professionals. And if so, then I can be responsive to someone's need and be there as a support until they can get support for themselves.
Right, exactly. Well, first, number one, a person has to be willing to open up and tell you the trauma, and that takes a lot. But until that happens, just being there, having your support, as a professional or friend or family member is enough for that person. And that will give them the courage to get to a place where they're willing to open up. And once you have a deeper history, you'll be able to provide more support. But until that person is ready to acknowledge, this is what happened to me in the past, I'm still having issues with it, it's coming out in my behavior and my language, but I'm not willing to acknowledge it, the best you can do is just be there for them.
Kim, I sent you in the chat something that Robin on Facebook had said. So if you want, I can read it.
Oh yeah, I have it here. Let's see. Okay, all right. Thank you. And this is from Robin. Thank you, Robin, for sharing this. Yeah, a lot of mental health professionals are now transitioning to technology, like Zoom, for example. And it's been challenging. I'm a member of a couple of Facebook groups for therapists, and I can see their challenges. So behind the scenes, they're struggling as well, and their stress and anxiety is high too. But no, Robin, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Your clients definitely need you, and please continue to support them.
And I'll just give a background of what she said. She just basically was saying that she was a life coach and retired and became an empty nester. And now, since the pandemic has happened, she's been called back into service. And one of the challenges is that the technology has changed, and just the use of technology in her business can be frustrating. So, yeah. So I just wanted to give everybody else a understanding of what the question was or statement.
Okay.
And if anybody else has any questions that are on Facebook, please feel free to put them in the
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, Esther, yeah. So actually, Facebook, if you go into Facebook, and I can later on, I can maybe email it to you guys or put it in the chat box, but Facebook has some really informative groups for mental health coaches, life coaches, and it's actually a knowledge share. People actually share what they're doing right now, what's working, what's not working, and the experiences that they're having communicating with patients during the pandemic. So yeah, if you go to Facebook in the search engine, just type in life coach groups or mental health professional groups, and a whole list will pop up. Let's see, Lena, did we hear from you? What have been your coping strategies during the pandemic?
Just in general, with my mental health, it's just having me time. I need me time. I'm probably more of an introvert than an extrovert, even though I've done lots of different stuff and just been out there kind of thing. I love my own space. So for me, this is brilliant. And I need that time where I have that alone time where I can think.
Yeah,
and I can
rejuvenate.
Rejuvenate, and just whether it be even in the shower or the going for a walk, but I guess I am fortunate in the sense that I do live alone, which is great at the moment. I'm flat sitting. My parents are in Cyprus, which is brilliant, and they're fine. And so I tap in and out and go outside and just go for a walk. So like yourself, just going for a walk and having that sort of meditation time where I can think. COVID-19, it was a case of I need to adapt my business and the way I do things, so it is online, so I can actually tap into people.
Right.
Making sure that everything's digitalized, making sure that people can sign paperwork on my website, that I can actually utilize Zoom, that I can actually build in an e-commerce platform onto my business, onto my website. So I was doing that even before COVID-19 to enable and empower other people to actually set up their own online businesses. So when this hit, it was almost like, okay, was the fact that I was listening to my intuition and having a sense women have a sixth sense about something's not right here. Something's going to happen. Something's going to kick off soon. So, and it's always having that opportunity to just tap into that, because we all have it, particularly when you've had the education, you had the experience, and you've had the testimony from before. So the other experience that you've had that you can actually tap into and know that, okay, I think we're all on the right path. It's just that, as you were saying, some people will be going through some real dire stuff, And I don't know if it's in the Bible or whatever, wherever it is, and sometimes I don't believe what the Bible had to say sometimes. But, you know, it is almost that, you know, those circumstances will see you to the other side, and you will experience the promised land, as it were.
Right.
So anyway, that's me.
Wow. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing, Lena. And I think you're very visionary, because even when the stay-at-home orders are lifted, do we really think that people will be comfortable coming back into the doctor's office or going to workshops or conferences, you know? So now is the time to, I guess, realign our business models and gear it more towards online services. So yeah, kudos to you. Okay.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned for the last couple of weeks, I think I mentioned that for extroverts, it's very challenging right now. And then for introverts, it's actually a time where they can thrive. And Kim, I think last week you mentioned that you're an introvert. And so this is actually a great time for you. I'm a little bit of both. And so the challenge for me is like, I thrive when I'm around people, and I need that. I need spurts of that so that my energy can kind of come through. But then I need to come home and have my time where I like regenerate and kind of breathe and get back to me. So I can have it both ways. So I'm not feeling bad because I have to be in the house. I've been in the house for like 8 months. But I do need that time where I can sit down with my girlfriends and kind of shoot the breeze. And I think this is that for me. And like, I don't even like doing like Facebook lives because there's nobody. I had this bright idea. I was like, I'm gonna cook on certain days, but then there's nobody there, and I'm like, that's not cool. I don't want to talk to air.
Well,
so this is actually great.
It's funny because when it's real time on Facebook Live, no one's there, but it's the replays that get the most visitors.
Right.
So don't worry.
And I like that. Because I need the people to feed off.
Say that again. We got frozen. I missed that last bit.
She was saying that it's the replays on Facebook Lives that actually get the most traction.
Yeah.
And they do, but I need you to be talking to me in real time. Like, I was trying to make I was making some egg rolls last week, and I thought I had this bright idea. I was like, let's talk Tuesday. There that would allow you to bring the person on and you could chat with a person and then take them off or whatever. That button's not there. I don't know why they took that away. That's like so wrong. I need to have a conversation. So that's the only challenging thing that I find. It's like, even when I go outside, like, people don't even want to, they'll acknowledge you.
I know.
Like, hey, but it's like, hey,
well, you know, I'm starting to get offended because when I go out for my runs, you know, people are running away from me. I'm like, hey, you know, like, well, yeah, but no, I get it. Maybe a good option for extroverts would be like a Zoom happy hour. You know, you send an invite to all your friends and you guys can drink wine and just catch up, you know, about what happened during the week. So that could be an option.
Yeah, I participated in that for a couple weeks. Then I started forgetting that happy hour, but I still don't want to drink by myself. I think when you have like real happy hour, it's the atmosphere, it's the noise in the background, it's the conversation, it's the fact that, you know, you might be discussing what actually happened in the week. Now you're like, oh, I'm sitting in this house and they're over there and that drink looks good and I'll have it.
Yeah. And I guess it's that human connection, right? I mean, I don't care how much of an introvert you are. I mean, even sometimes we like that, you know, human contact. And, you know, Zoom is great, but when you're in front of a person, you can see their body language and you can feel their emotions. And, you know, I get it. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very itchy. Like, plus it's allergy
Yeah.
season, so there's only so much outdoors I can take.
Yeah.
But and spring is my favorite time of year. So being held up is not a good thing for me. I'm like, when I get done with work and the sun is out, I'm ready to go outside and play. Like, where are my friends at? You know, but I'm really itchy right now, like for conversation, in-person, face-to-face conversation. Zoom is, is a nice, supplement, but it's definitely not a substitute. It's a supplement. And so looking forward to that. But there is going to be, I think, some psychological backlash on when we open up. Will people be psychologically ready for that? Because there's been a really good job around capturing people's fears around this, and which is a normal, natural, humanistic response to anything like this. And I personally think our fears have been hijacked, and it's just we're not ever able to evolve as humans when we allow our fear to overreact. You know, so it's always operating from that survival place, as opposed to a place of thriving. And so our fears have just been hijacked all over the place.
Like you stated earlier, I mean, especially within the Black American community, I mean, we were suffering prior to this. And Lena, I'm not sure what the climate is like in the UK, but here in the United States, the Black American community has been impacted the most by the COVID crisis in terms of the number of deaths, job layoffs, financial constraints. So our community is going to need a lot of support after this is over.
Yeah, in the UK, it's maybe not as severe as in the US, but I know it's historical from the US because I've been to Chicago 3 times. I've been to New York and Washington DC, so I see, the strife and troubles when I was there, but also just online and just seeing what's happening on YouTube and seeing what is going on in the USA at the moment, and how COVID-19 is really impacting, African American, the Black community. And I see that Oprah is doing something, but she's doing it on Apple TV. And my thing is, well, if most of the Black community have been constrained because they're not economically able to, get things, how are they supposed to tap into Apple? Apple TV. Unless Apple's going to take some of their money, their trillions of dollars. I love Apple. I've got Apple products all over the place. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, how they're supposed to tap into it. Right. But I'm liking the fact that there are people speaking out. So you've got on the Breakfast Club. I can't remember his name now.
Charlemagne.
Charlemagne, and he's heavily into. They should have you on there, actually.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll try to contact them.
Yeah, contact him because he's very much into the mental health thing. And but anyway, but they're talking about making sure that with the prison reform and all that sort of stuff, because a lot of the inmates who are heavily Black population in there are dying, and obviously because of underlying health issues, because of diabetes and all that sort of stuff, because they are not having access to the fresh foods and all that sort of stuff. You have to eat what you've got in the local community, which is the fried foods and all that sort of stuff, which leads you to have diabetes, which is susceptible to the COVID-19, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I see what's happening, and it's about trying to see how the Black community can be more healthier, basically, and how that can happen.
Definitely.
Anyway.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Well, Shaw, I am cognizant of the time. So ladies, I just want to say thank you. I feel like this was very engaging, and I enjoy talking to all of you.
Yes, and thank you, Kim, for facilitating this particular Ladies and Lunch. Next week, we don't have a speaker yet, so if someone has a presentation that they want to do, please reach out to me and we will go ahead and put you on the calendar. We did have someone who wanted to do something about expatriate coaching as well. But again, this format is really about having discussion and conversation, as well as introducing entrepreneurs who have online businesses, are currently working remotely, or if you are a mother and you are feeling some type of way right now as you are having to be the teacher, the mother, the caregiver, and everything else in between. Your job never ends, and now you have some extra roles. Please feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to hear from you. So all women are welcome to have a conversation, and we extend this to our brothers too, if they have some great information they'd like to share. And it's been another wonderful discussion with Ladies and Lunch. Thank you very much. See you guys later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.